Good morning, and thank you for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. We've got a great show for you guys today. We're going to be covering the UCONN versus Purdue game that happened last night. We're also going to be talking a little bit about WrestleMania and diving into Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. We're also going to be talking about John Calipari's move to Arkansas, and then make sure you guys stick around for later in the show when we will be diving into our Keeping the Faith Feel Good Story segment.
Keeping the face. Okay.
Yeah. Faith, excuse me. Before we start, though, I'd like to ask you guys like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. That link is gsmcpodcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it just also really helps the show. So, excuse me, sorry, it's the day after Monday.
It's called Keeping the Face. I like it.
Faith.
Because
Faith.
Everyone gets to see beautiful face.
Aww.
So it's Keeping the Face. I like it. I think it's my first official compliment to you.
Thank you.
All right, so how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy. I went and had some fun yesterday. My boyfriend and I went to a local brewery where I live, and we played trivia, which we're not good at at all. But it was a fun night. Yeah.
You know, I am like really good at worthless information. I have a ton of it.
Yeah, no, I need
those
you on my trivia
plays,
team.
oh no.
Oh, you're not good at that?
Because I'm not pop culture smart. If you want to talk about from geography to space travel to science to history, math, I got you covered. If you want to talk to me about who Bruno Mars is dating and married to,
I don't know that
it's
either.
over. I don't know.
I
just made that up.
It wasn't like strictly pop culture. Like the first section was like about mammals, and then the second section.
I'd be dangerous there. that one I'm dangerous on. I clear that whole category.
Yeah. Then there was also like ancient empires. So it wasn't all like pop culture.
Okay.
So.
I'd be able to carry my weight on this one.
Yeah.
Ancient empires. Mammals, I got you covered. Madonna's fourth husband, nope.
I wouldn't know that either. So
we're gonna be talking about WrestleMania a little later on today, and there was a lot of celebrities at WrestleMania.
Yes, there was,
and I didn't know half of them. People are losing their mind, and I'm like, that's Billy, right? No.
Billy.
I'm not saying Billy Eilish, I'm saying Billy. So no, I did not have pop culture is not my thing.
Oh, I love pop culture.
See, that's why we would be a good team then, because you're, like you said, science and like zoology, ancient history, all that stuff. I'm your guy. I got you covered in spades. Geography, world travel, politics, covered.
Yeah.
No. Pop culture, that's my weakness. And then, here's an interesting one with me. I actually took the test for Jeopardy and actually passed it.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that. Yeah. And then you didn't go on the show.
Right, yes. Nope. I am not. I'm king of worthless information, except for you start bringing out pop culture, singers, things of that nature, and it is like, nope. So I cannot handle that.
Well,
so yeah, I hear a rumor that you were watching the highlights for the game today.
Yes, I did. I watched some of the highlights this morning because I'm sorry, but that game was past Faith's bedtime.
This is, they seem so cool and hip. I was out, I did trivia, I was doing trivia with my boyfriend. I was
I
at
was
this
home by like
event, that
8:30.
event. Faith is in bed, she got her fuzzy slippers on by 9 o'clock, and she's
Mm-hmm.
out.
I sure do. Yeah, we were home by 8:30 last night, I think. So I didn't stay out late.
Faith, you done turned into a grandmother before you've even hit 24 yet.
I like my sleep and I have to get up
Ooh,
early for the show.
you do love
So
your sleep.
I have to make sure that I get enough sleep for the show because y'all would not enjoy listening to me if I had 4 hours of sleep. Like I would be a dud.
We're the opposite on that one. The less sleep I have, the livelier I get.
No, I'm the opposite.
Like if I get a full night's sleep that's like 5 to 8 hours, I'm a mess the rest of the day.
Yeah.
I'm groggy, I'm sluggish. I get an hour or two and I am wired. Like, let's do this.
No, not me. Not me at all.
Yeah, I'm a weird mutant when it comes to that. So, all right, let's dive into this, Miss Faith.
Alrighty, so UConn beats Purdue 75-60. The UConn Huskies are national champions, again defeating the Purdue Boilermakers 75-60. Danny Hurley's squad is the first to go back-to-back since the Florida Gators did so in 2007, and they do so in dominating fashion, outscoring the 6 opponents by an NCAA record 140 points. TBS Ian Eagle closed the game broadcast with the perfect summation of the performance of the Husky utter domination for 2 years. Tristen Newton led the way for the Huskies with 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds, and was named the most outstanding player of the Final Four. Stephon Castle chipped in 15 for UConn, and Donovan Clingan and Cam Spencer each added 11. Zach Edey was nearly 2/3 of the Purdue's offense, scoring 37 of the Boilermakers' 60 points. Braden Smith scored 12, but nobody else had more than 5 for Purdue, who goes home still seeking their first national championship. This is UConn's 6th national championship. Only UCLA with 11 and Kentucky with 8 have more championships. Only 6 coaches in history of the sport have won more national titles than Danny Hurley. So, man.
Okay. Okay, Faith.
Yes.
This was weird watching this game. First off, congratulations to UConn. They've been the most dominant team for the last 2 years. They were the team that was kind of expected to repeat. But the reason why it was weird, it was like I was watching the game, the women's game, just change. It was like Iowa versus South Carolina part 2.
Basically,
It was exactly the same thing, where Zach Edey was the big superstar. And for Purdue.
Which rightfully so. That dude's 7'4". God, he can just tip it into the basket.
I don't know how tall he is, but yeah. It was like, okay, we're going to let Zach Edey get his. He got 37 points, 10 rebounds. It was like, you do you.
Yeah.
But we're going to do everything else perfectly. Defense. Do you understand? They shut the entire Purdue team down. Smith had 12 points. It ends there. Zach Edey had 37. Brendan Smith had 12, and it was cancel Christmas on everyone else. After that, the third highest scoring player on the team had 5 points.
Yeah.
Another player had 4. And another player had 2, and everybody else had 0. Nothing. This was one of the best, most prepared teams I've ever seen in an NCAA tournament. It was thorough domination.
Mm-hmm.
On the defensive side, they shut down the entire Purdue team. They
Mm-hmm.
were not productive in the least. I mean, in the least. And what they did was just like South Carolina did Iowa. They shut down the 3-point shot. They
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't. Everybody else, they were gonna let Zach Edey get his points, but no one else was gonna get their points. No one else was gonna go off that day.
Mm-hmm.
They shut everyone else down, and then just controlled the game. And then the nice thing is they kind of spread the points around. Newton had 20, but Castle had 15. Spencer had 11. Another guy had 11. Another guy had 9. It wasn't just one guy, it was a full team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that was so impressive. And it reminded me a lot of South Carolina when they were playing Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa had that one star.
Yep.
And if that one star couldn't get off, the rest of the guys were shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then what they did was UConn took him into deep waters. And then when Edey started to get tired, he started to slow down. And then they put their boot on his neck and like kind of closed them out. UConn has done this is one of the most dominating college basketball teams maybe ever. UConn now 6-0 in national championships games. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
First team to repeat since Florida did since in 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Hurley, things I wrote down. Dan Hurley, fourth coach to win multiple titles in the first 6 years. That's huge. He's adjusted to this new NCAA. And this is a new era of NCAA where you got to be a deep team, a well-coached team, have a more mature team. There's not a lot of one and dones in there. One thing I will say, let me repeat this and then I'm gonna go back to this one. Third team to repeat since 1985. Some amazing, Dan Hurley, that was the second national championship, but they were on a 37-game winning streak, 48 games streak where if they were leading at halftime, coming out of halftime, they've won 48 straight, and this game was no different.
Mm-hmm.
No difference whatsoever. The interesting thing is when you look about Dan Hurley, fourth coach to win multiple titles in their first 6 seasons. The reason why this is super interesting is because the Kentucky job is out there. Kentucky, when it comes to basketball, it doesn't get any blue bloodder than Kentucky basketball. With the fact that their position is now open, I highly suggest that UConn write Dan Hurley
A big
old
fat check.
and this guy,
Check.
he got to get this. Matter of fact, when you pick up the phone and you call Dan Hurley and you say you want to have a meeting, it should start out by saying, "Hey Dan, did you see the wire that we wired all that money into your bank account? It's already there. You just got to sign the paperwork." Because you can't even right now with Kentucky out there, you can't even wait to have Dan Hurley come across campus and sign the contract.
Mm-hmm.
You just start wiring him money. Like when that last shot was shot and at the game, there should have been a text message come across Dan Hurley's phone. You just got deposited $37 million.
Just a money gun on the sideline of the court. Just
he got a gun just shooting Uzis of hundreds everywhere. The minute that game was over, because I'm telling you this right now, Kentucky's gonna come calling.
Mm-hmm.
And Kentucky's gonna come calling because this guy, he is putting together a dominant program, back-to-back national champions, but maybe the most dominant run in history. If I'm not going to say it's the most dominant run, even though you could, but it's definitely one of the most dominant runs in history. One of the most well-coached teams. Destroyed everyone they've ran across. And now you have maybe the job of all jobs out there. I mean, I think the two biggest jobs you can get in basketball, college basketball, is North Carolina, Kentucky. That's 1A. Mm-hmm. That'd be the top two jobs you can get in basketball. And that's and one of them is available. Mm-hmm. If I'm UConn, I'm not waiting. While he's celebrating, and I'm slipping him more champagne. I'm mixing tequila in there. I'm getting him drunk. I want him to sign that contract while he's feeling good. I'm locking his butt down.
Oh gosh.
Because the alternative is, you know what I mean, is maybe the greatest job, Camelot, is available. And King Arthur's gone and there's a seat open. I think it's a huge situation. And so I think winning, I mean, not only that, forget about Kentucky, doing what he's done, dominating for the last 2 years, which turned into back-to-back national championships, not even really being threatened, looking at the future and saying, hey, the future is bright for UConn basketball for the next decade. Mm-hmm. He's earned a massive pay raise, not pay cut, pay raise. But then you mix in the fact that it's perfect timing for him because the Kentucky job's open. He's going to get paid like nobody else, I think. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see a record-breaking contract come his way. Yeah. I don't know. Do you agree with that? I mean, when you look at what he's done,
I definitely agree with that. And
sometimes
needs to start throwing some money,
making it rain
on him. If not, somebody else is gonna pick up the phone and call him and be like, "Hey, I hear UConn's only offering you this amount of money, but we can offer you more."
Right, and but it's not only that; it's Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Kentucky is available. That's kind of like when Saban stepped down from Alabama. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the SEC had to get a little nervous because, you know what I mean? If Alabama comes calling, unless you're at very few jobs in college football, it's like, oh crap, Alabama's calling. They're going to take our guy. Yeah. Well, this is
we were sweating
Alabama.
A little bit over here in Georgia when that was going on.
Because think about it. No matter how secure you feel, it's like in Georgia, back-to-back championships, had a great season last year, even though it didn't make the playoffs, and then Alabama job come available, and it's like, uh-oh, everybody starts puckering up a little bit, getting a little nervous there because it's too good of a job to say no to. Anyone's going to sit down and listen to Alabama. Anyone is going to sit down, no matter how great you are, you're going to have a seat with Kentucky to talk about basketball. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And it's perfect timing. Dominate, win championship, win back-to-back championships, and that's open. That's the stuff that makes blockbuster contracts. Timing. And he has it right now. He has it in spades. Yeah. So.
Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about, we're going to touch on WrestleMania and also discuss Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about UConn beating Purdue 75-60, and now we're going to be touching on WrestleMania and talking about Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. But before we do that, I just wanted to remind you guys to like and follow the show. Also, we get a number of questions from viewers that come in during the show, so to ensure that your question gets read on the air, I ask that you use the tips and donation link with your question. The tips and donation link is GSMC podcast.net. This just puts your question at the top of the list so that I can see it, and it just also really helps the show. So you should do it.
All right. He's like, you should do it.
You should do it. All righty.
So let's do this, Dave. This is one that's going to be a little interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So WrestleMania 40 weekend in Philadelphia was not just a celebration of wrestling, but a symphony of record-breaking events, star appearances, and thrilling matches. The city of brotherly love played host to one of the most electrifying weekends in WWE history, with each event contributing to an unforgettable spectacle. What started as a one-night-only wrestling card in New York's Madison Square Garden has now turned into a multi-day mania that takes bids from major markets to bring this annual traveling show to their cities. Birds are loud out here this morning. With that, I think you wanted to touch a little bit on Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns first, and then we can...
Wait, and before we do this, talking about WrestleMania in general. Mm-hmm. The reason why I wanted to talk about this, we had talked about the new television contract that the WWE had received, which was huge. But when you look at this event, it's not just wrestling entertainment. This is one of the elite American or global spectaculars there are. I mean, it's over the top. Night one, they had 72,000 people in attendance, which was a record. Follow that up with another 70-something thousand people the next day. Total, 2 nights, 145,000 people showed up at WrestleMania to watch it. I was kind of shocked. We were in the production meeting, and our basketball host, Nelson, was like just over the moon. Yeah. We're talking about celebrity sightings. We saw Nelson at WrestleMania. So, and he was talking about like what a huge, spectacular event it is. They had everyone there. I mean, when you start looking at some of the celebrities that showed, I don't know if you saw some of this. Many celebrities, I don't know who half of them are. Hold on. Run down and see if you can give me somebody. Hit me with some of them here.
Okay, so let's see. I do know who Coco Jones is. Coco Jones, I believe, was in some Nickelodeon stuff.
Remember I said pop culture? No clue?
I'm pretty sure
who Coco Jones was. Okay.
Or Disney, one of those two. I know who Vanessa Hudgens is because she was also a Disney girl. She starred in High School Musical.
Didn't know who she was.
But I want to talk about
Oh, we're saving best for last. We're saving best for last.
Okay, best
We're
for
not
last.
getting to
Okay.
your favorite.
I
Lil
don't.
Wayne was there.
Yeah, Lil Wayne was there. Dude
They had
Perfect. Dude
yes,
Perfect.
Drew Barrymore in the back.
Yes. Dude Perfect. They have. They do this. They do like trick shots and stuff on YouTube. And they're fun to watch. I like watching them. But the star of the show. Mr. Jason Kelce made an appearance at WrestleMania this weekend.
Remember I told you it was going to happen?
Yeah, and you can see him with his shirt off, with his belly out, and his jeans, and his Timberlands. That is a great photo right there. Great photo op.
I hate him. I hate his guts. Let me tell you why.
Jason Kelce?
Because,
How
yes,
can you
I hate his
Jason
guts.
Kelce?
Let me tell you why I hate his guts. It's strictly out of envy. I love him. He is what is considered a fat man, a fat NFL player, 300-pounder. He got better abs than I have. I don't have abs. He looks better than me. You know what? I take my shirt off, they go to black. They just turn it off. Like, nope, we just canceling the event. No, Tate took his damn shirt off. We canceling it. Everybody go home.
Oh,
Kelce,
gosh.
he's up there. He's flexing and everything else. It was awesome just seeing this.
Yeah.
The WWE puts on an event better than anyone.
Mm-hmm.
As far as they're not on the same level, but the best two events that I see as far as spectacles go, WrestleMania, the Super Bowl, those are the top two events I see in America. I mean, those two events are just over the top. You know, many other grand events like the Rose Bowl, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, Oklahoma, Yankees, Red Sox. There are great games out there, but for spectacle, for, you know, the over the top.
I don't know. You ever seen a Georgia-Florida game?
Yes, I have, actually. Can't even. Okay, Georgia, Florida, great game. Cannot touch that Ohio State Michigan game. And that's a great game. Georgia, Florida is off. Georgia, Florida is unreal, but it's behind that. That's what I mean. I mean, there's
yeah. That's a spectacle,
crazy. Though. Oh no, that's a wonder. That is a game worth going to see. Like we're talking. Let's see, college football games, Georgia, Florida. It's definitely one of my top 10 games I go to. I mean, definitely one of my top 10 games I've seen in my college football traveling. But anyway, back to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I love what they did with this. They made it over the top, and it was just a spectacle. Anyway, go ahead and dive into what you were going to talk about with this.
Okay, so Cody Rhodes defeats Roman Reigns, and Reign moves to a new story. So Roman Reigns' incredible reign came to an end at WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2 as Cody Rhodes finished the story, but Triple H says that the tribal chief is about to embark on a new story of his own. Speaking to the WWE WrestleMania 40 Night 2 post-show press conference, Triple H praised Reigns following the end of his reign. There was a lot of banner about greatest of all time. You can make arguments for a lot of people in that, and there are a lot of metrics you can measure or opinions, whatever that is. If he is not he is one of, absolutely for certain, the greatest of all time, Triple H said. To do what he's done to overcome all the things in his career and the positioning and the stuff he had to get through and hung in there to get where he needed to be, to deal with his physical issues and health issues, to overcome the pandemic, to overcome everything he had to deal with on his way here, and then to go out there and put a run like nobody has ever put on before, a run of epic moments, epic storytelling. You see that word cinema thrown out a lot. It's what it really is. It's changed. There are a few guys who have come along in our business where you say during that period of time that they were in, that they changed the industry. He changed the industry. I mean, that in front of the camera, I mean, that behind the camera, he's changed the industry. He's that good. Can't say enough good stuff about him. And then Triple H teased what's next for Roman Reigns. Triple H continued by stating that Roman Reigns finished one chapter on Sunday, but he will go on a new story that will blow people's mind. So.
Okay. Now, we don't normally dive into the wrestling world because, you know, I call it scripted violence. It's not, you know, it is scripted, it's choreographed. I never call it fake because wrestlers get beat up maybe more than any other sport, more than football, more than MMA. And the reason why that is because they get, like, if you're an MMA fighter, every 3 months or so, you have a fight. If you're a football player, you have a game once a week for a few months, and then you have an off season. Wrestlers don't get an off season. Wrestlers, they have sometimes, depending on where they're at, they will have a violent match during the day and another violent match that night. A lot of times, they're wrestling 7 days a week. The WWE has kind of changed that up a little bit. So now wrestlers are having, instead of 7 days a week, they're still out there having matches at least 3 to 4 days a week. Violence after violence, your body takes a beating. But I was looking at this and I'm a casual WWE fan, or a casual professional wrestling fan. Used to be a fan some years ago, but I still keep track of it. And I was really disappointed. I mean, WrestleMania was unreal, but the storyline, I wanted them to keep Roman Reigns' championship run a little bit longer. I know everyone was kind of like, Cody finishes his story, but I thought the best thing to do was to let Roman Reigns keep running until he passed Hulk Hogan. The record goes, Bruno Sammartino, 2,803 days is the longest reign as a WWE or WWF champion. Bob Backlund at 2,803 days. Bob Backlund, 2,135 days. He also had 920 title defenses during that time. Number 3 was Hulk Hogan with 1,474 days as champion, 468 title defenses. And then now it's Roman Reigns, with his ends right around 1,300 days. I was expecting, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have it go on, somehow figure out a way that Roman Reigns still wins. He goes on, breaks Hulk Hogan's record, and then he loses to Cody after he breaks the record of passing Hulk Hogan. That's kind of what I was looking at. When you say great, something Triple H was talking about greatest of all time. When you say greatest WWE wrestler of all time, you definitely have to put Roman Reigns in that category. I put him. Do I put him in my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers? I have Ric Flair on my Mount Rushmore, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan. That's my 4, the 4 greatest of all time of all wrestling. But Roman Reigns is right outside that category.
Yeah,
in my eyes.
I am not a WrestleMania fan or watcher, but For me, when it comes to like greatest of all time, whatever, in whatever sport, if you're talked about so much that someone who doesn't watch WrestleMania has heard the name Roman Reigns and know who he is, that just proves the point that, yes, I feel he is considered to be one of the greatest.
Exactly. Because ultimately, that's what makes someone great.
Mm-hmm.
The wrestling fan, they're the mark. They're always going to tune in. They're going to buy the T-shirt. They're going to put up the poster.
Mm-hmm.
The casual fan, like we were talking about Nelson, being at WrestleMania. He's not a diehard wrestling fan, but you have a chance to go to that spectacle. You go to it. I'm not a diehard wrestling fan, but I have to see what happens. This is especially this one. Faith can't even spell wrestling. Of course you can. I mean
can.
Of course you can. You are incredible. I just mean it as in like you are the polar opposite of a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
But you know about WrestleMania, you know about Roman Reigns. Then you mix in The Rock, his cousin, his other cousins, the history of his family, and everything else. I mean, that's a big thing. What they did at WrestleMania, though, was unreal. You had the Rhodes family, you had the Bloodline, which is The Rock and Roman Reigns' family, and how they did it with John Cena coming out, with The Undertaker coming out. I mean, The Rock was there. Everything was there. I didn't think they would be able to put together such a spectacle, but they did it. And
it was huge.
It was massive.
It was so big.
Massive. And even going into it, the last few days before WrestleMania, they were setting attendance records as people were just going to the event, selling out event after event after event, just leading to WrestleMania. I don't have tickets to WrestleMania, but I'm going to go to NXT. I'm going to Raw, or I'm going to SmackDown. I'm going to watch these events. 145,000 people or something like that showed up over 2 days to watch these events. And that's the cool thing about WrestleMania. You get tickets to both days. That's a full-on weekend excursion of, over the top them. So, just saying that. And then I know there's another story. We don't have, because we kind of covered it all in one big topic here. But man, and this is the first WrestleMania without the McMahons in charge. And it's, the McMahons created the WWE. And this is the one where the McMahons really weren't involved. The dad, Vince McMahon, he's out. He's kind of pushed to the side because of some very controversial things. You got to read on some of that yourself. I don't think we got clearance to talk about some of the things that he was accused of. But yeah, I mean, you worry like with no McMahon involved, it's going to take a step back. No, it took a step forward. This is probably the most over the top one of all of them. So it was amazing. Matter of fact, I'll be looking at the rest of this stuff and all week because it was that awesome. So
I think Tate for next year should take all the GSMC Sports podcast hosts to WrestleMania next year.
Would you go?
Yes, I would go. Group trip. I would go.
I like that one.
Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take another quick little break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about John Calipari's stunning move to Arkansas shows how desperately he wanted out of Kentucky. So make sure you guys stick around, and we will be back in a minute.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
Alrighty guys, welcome back. Earlier we were talking about WrestleMania that happened this past weekend, and now we're going to be talking about John Calipari's stunning move to Arkansas shows how desperately he wanted out of Kentucky. So, I know earlier we were talking about how since Kentucky's position is now open, what that means for Kentucky, and if they're going to try to get a what's his name? Dan Hurley.
Yes. Okay. Now I was I was over here. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish what you're saying, then I'll tell you what I was thinking about.
Well, that was it.
Okay. See, I was kind of sidetracked because I was going through my head because I was thinking about something you said earlier during the show. You were talking about Georgia Alabama game. Yes. And I was starting to think about what are my favorite games to go to. So I was drifting off on my own little world over here.
Okay.
And so I'm going to give you I'll give you mine in this quick little commercial break. I'll give you my top 3 games.
Okay.
Anywhere. Or do I want to do 4? No, I'm going to just do 3. Number 3 is Florida, Georgia.
Yeah, that's
number 3.
That has to be on anybody's list. That's rivalry as old as time.
Number 2, and this one's a tough one for me. Oklahoma, Texas is number 2. That is unreal. I could make a case that it could be number 1. Mm-hmm. And then number 1 is Ohio State, Michigan. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 best games that I have been to, that I have seen, and I don't think there's anything close. So when we were talking about that earlier, that's kind of what we were talking about. But anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
Not paying attention.
I was in
off.
my own little world over here trying to think. I was like, I was just trying to think what were the games that I was trying to mix them all together. So, okay, go ahead with the situation.
Okay, so John Calipari's stunning move to Arkansas shows how desperately he wanted out of Kentucky. 11 days ago, John Calipari and Mitch Barnhart sat side by side in the Kentucky basketball office conducting a painfully awkward TV interview. Barnhart had just publicly confirmed the previous day that Calipari would return to lead the school's storied men basketball program for a 16th season. Now it was time for the embattled coach and his longtime athletic director to set aside any lingering tension and put on a united front while discussing the future of Kentucky basketball. Insisting the notion that he and Calipari had no relationship was garbage and misinformation. Barnhart likened their partnership to that of a semi-married couple. When Calipari interrupted to ask if Barnhart ever had an argument with his wife, Barnhart replied, "Just occasionally. I think you and I have too." That entire uncomfortable conversation is a hilarious watch given the stunning news that broke on Sunday night on the eve of the men's national title game. The semi-marriage between Calipari and Kentucky is over. Calipari, per numerous reports, is finalizing a 5-year deal to become the next head coach at Arkansas. For Calipari to leave the highest profile job in college basketball to take a second-tier gig in the same conference, he had to be desperate to move on from Kentucky. He had to know that he was never going to recapture the magic from the first half of his Kentucky tenure when the Wildcats were competing for Final Fours and national titles, and he probably could have a run for state governor and won in a landslide. Calipari was under increasing pressure at Kentucky because his last 4 seasons doubled as one of the worst stretches in program history. In 2021, Kentucky endured its most humbling season in decades, going from preseason top 10 to a 9-16 faceplant. In 2022, the Wildcats suffered their worst ever NCAA tournament loss, a 2-15 upset at the hands of St. Peter's. Last year, Calipari's team entered a number 6 seed but failed to survive the NCAA tournament opening weekend. So,
okay. When I first thought about this, I was like, what? Calipari is stepping down, and he had like $30-something million left on his contract. So, and at first I equated it to, that'd be like Nick Saban saying, hey, I'm stepping down from Alabama to go coach at Mississippi State. That's kind of where I gave it equivalent of. It's like, I'm going to leave the elite program in the conference to go to a program that may have a history, but not on the same caliber. And I was like, wow, that's a shocker to me. And then I find out that he's, they pretty much voided his contract. Kentucky doesn't have to pay the $35 million or whatever it is for his last year. He's just going to be out. It's like everyone gets their divorce and they move on. It took me a little time to marinate with this one. It's the right decision for everyone involved, in my opinion. And I think there's going to be some people that's upset about this move. Kentucky gets out of a situation. The game, to me, the new game of college basketball seemed like it was either passing Calipari by or the University of Kentucky by, or both. What I mean by this is Calipari came to Kentucky as the man who mastered the one-and-done program. He gets that player that is a high school player, but they're required to play 1 year of college. He mastered how to get those guys to come in, come play for him, play 1 year, get the most out of them, and they bounce out and they leave on to the NBA. Well, the new world of college basketball, and this is what I thought was starting to leave Kentucky behind, and Calipari was behind, is the age of the name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal world. This is not the same era as before. Now, if you're a player and you're not playing and you're not happy where you're at, you can move and transfer to another team. Number two, if you're a player and it's like, hey, in order for me to make money, I have to go to the NBA. Not true any longer. You can be a player and be a mid-tier player, which most likely you're going to end up in the second round or not get drafted. You're not leaving for the NBA draft because it's a dead-end position for you. But you can stay in college, still get paid, still get a lot of playing time, and win. That's the new NBA, the new NCAA college basketball world. So this year, when you look at women's and men's basketball, the best team won, not the best player. The best player was on the losing side of things on both games, but the best team, meaning the team that had the deeper players. In order to win in this new college basketball world, you have to have players who've been on the team for a while, played as a team for an extended period of time. You need depth. you look at that Purdue team, they got nothing off the bench. I mean, I could have suited up and did what their bench did. They did nothing. They didn't get anything from three. I can shoot nothing from three. You can shoot nothing from three.
Yep.
Because this new world, the teams are coached better because the players are there longer. The teams are deeper. And so a deep, well-coached team can beat a team just assembled with one-and-done players. And that's where Calipari and Kentucky has struggled, in my opinion. They're having a hard time making that transition. Parting ways makes it so, like I said, a Dan Hurley. Do you see what I mean by Dan Hurley goes to the top of the list?
Yeah.
He's proven in this new NCAA world, not only can he coach at an elite level, not only can he recruit at an elite level, but he can win and dominate. That's what Kentucky's looking for, is a guy like Dan Hurley. Calipari can move on, maybe whether it's the school, whether it's the combination of the two, but they both get fresh starts. They get to get some of that old relationship off of them, reinvent themselves, and maybe he can rebuild Arkansas. Arkansas isn't a scrub program. It's like, but Arkansas has won the national championship before. They're just not a perennial champion. They're not the blue blood. They're not Kentucky. They're not Alabama in football. You know, they're a little further down. But it gives Calipari a chance to coach, recruit, and start over fresh. Where I personally think Calipari comes back, he's not a lame duck coach, but he is a coach on a massive hot seat. Meaning, they're putting all this money into him. He only has a year left on his contract. And the results of Kentucky the last 4 or so years have not been great, as you listed in the article that you were reading. It hasn't been great. If Kentucky goes in there one more time with Calipari and goes to the NCAA tournament, and let's say they get bumped out early again, it's over. Many people thought he might get fired this year. So he alleviates the situation where everyone's talking about, is he the coach? Is he a coach on the hot seat? If they go on a losing streak, is he going to get let go? Not anymore. He is now the rock star coach at Arkansas, and Arkansas is excited to have him. He have plenty of time to rebuild himself, get Arkansas into contending for March Madness. Not to mention March Madness, they're going to expand. They're going to be adding a lot more teams to the college, to the NCAA tournament, meaning that the Arkansas job isn't a dead end job. Arkansas with Calipari will be contending for March Madness visit after March Madness visit, but without the scrutiny of being at Kentucky. When Kentucky doesn't win the championship, or Kentucky doesn't make it to the Final Four, that's a failure. Arkansas, they make it to the March Madness next year. They win a couple of games. That's a great year. They win next year. The year after that, they win a couple games. They make it a little farther. One year they make it to the Final Four but get knocked out. Maybe they contend for a championship in 4 or 5 years. That's right down Arkansas's alley. Arkansas would be happy with that. Kentucky will not be.
Yeah.
Kentucky's like, they expect to make it to March Madness. If you don't make it to March Madness, you're fired. If you don't contend and make it to the Elite Eight or the Final Four, you're going to get let go right now if you're Calipari. So it was a smart decision. I'm very curious to see if Kentucky goes after Dan Hurley, because I think they're going to.
Yeah, they'd be dumb not to.
Now, the question is, UConn loves basketball as well.
Mm-hmm.
Do they write a check big enough?
They should. They should. They would be very stupid to not do that. Because, you know, if somebody else is going to offer him more money, you know, he's
Dan Hurley's going to... But you're looking at a world where this is the name, image, and likeness years.
Mm-hmm.
And not only do you have to pay your coach, but you're going to have to pay your players. You're going to have to be able to get your donors to donate a very large sum of money. Not to mention, to keep Dan Hurley, you're going to have to give him a record-breaking type contract. Mm-hmm. So paying your players and record-breaking contract, that sometimes is a hard thing for teams to do, especially colleges. I'm very curious to see what happens. Mm-hmm. But mark my word, I'm thinking as early as next week, Dan Hurley's going to make an announcement. He got a fat one. Big old contract.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now.
We'll just have to see who it's with.
Yes. And I think, you know, Connecticut, it's going to keep him. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a tap at the door. I don't know if it'll ever come out, but Kentucky's going to knock at that door.
Yeah.
No doubt. There's no doubt in my mind on that one.
Yep.
So.
Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to dive into our Keeping the Faith feel good story. I like it. So make sure you guys stick around, and we'll be back in a minute.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Earlier, we were talking about John Calipari's stunning move to Arkansas, shows how desperately he wanted out of Kentucky, and now we're going to dive into our Keeping the Faith feel-good story of the day. And this one actually involves sports, so I tied it all together.
All right. Let's see what's going on with Miss Faith and her keeping the faith. Okay, what do you have for me?
This NBA star always dreamed of being a teacher, so students in Brooklyn got the substitute teacher of a lifetime. For most basketball players, making it to the NBA is the ultimate dream, but Brooklyn Nets star Mikal Bridges, yes. Okay. Mikal Bridges has another dream as well. My other dream was being a second grade teacher, the small forward told CBS News. I think just helping the kids has always been a big thing of mine. Why second grade? Because I loved second grade when I was young. He said, I feel like that was one of the years I really remember just having a great year. I had a great teacher named Miss Porter, and I just feel like I always loved second grade. Growing up in Philadelphia, Bridges was inspired by Miss Porter to follow that dream. He got to do that this month, which was this happened in March, so last month,
Mm-hmm.
at PS 134 in Brooklyn, where he worked as a teacher for the day. The Nets got in around 1:30 a.m. the night before after beating the Cleveland Cavaliers 120-101. The player had a long night, but he was committed to teaching those kids. Their energy was just like, "What, you got me going so fast, they got me excited," Bridges said. He started the day playing basketball in gym class with fourth graders. The 6'6" player who was drafted in the NBA in 2018 organized a game of knockout for the kids and answered their questions. One student had a question that surprised him. How do you incorporate your personal life with your professional life? He said, "I like that question." He said, "It's not that bad, actually. I think the biggest thing is time. In season, you don't have that much time because I travel a lot, but I have been in it about 6 years now, so I found a good balance hanging out with friends and relaxing and preparing for the games." Her next question was, if your family comes to your games, do they get free tickets? His answer is yes. Another question was, why didn't you be a teacher if you wanted to be? He responded, because of basketball, but basketball doesn't go forever, he said. This is just the first part of my journey, so I think teacher is going to come up next, trying to do both. After gym, he went to the first grade music class. They were teaching me on their little xylophones. I didn't know what I was doing, what the teacher was teaching. He said the kid next to me was pointing on the board, follow that, follow that. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Many kids seized the opportunity to tell Bridges they too play basketball. On the playground at recess, they marveled at how tall he was and once stopped their ball game to ask Bridges for a hug. At lunch, he answered the first grade's riddles, and then he taught his favorite class, math. That's where perhaps his inclination for teaching others began. Math came easy to me. I feel like I was probably one of the smartest math kids in our class, he said, adding that when he was a kid, he helped other students. I'll try to teach them like, oh, this is how I learned it this way. It was pretty simple to me this way. Just think of this way. The kids couldn't get enough of their temporary teacher, Mr. Bridges, and while meeting an NBA star is a kid's dream, meeting these students fulfilled a dream for him. A lot of days we're in school, he said, and we're with our teachers, and I think they just don't get enough credit because we're around them a lot, and you know what I'm saying, and they help us become better people every day, and I think some are overlooked a little bit. Bridges said he hopes to become a teacher or even a principal after the NBA. So, cute little story.
Actually, that's a good story. Okay, that's
story.
a good story. Now, the first thing that popped in my head, and we'll talk on Mikal Bridges in a second, but do you remember second grade? That's a grade you skip in my head.
I think of first grade a little bit.
I think of first grade, fifth grade, middle school is just one whole clump, and then your high school years. That's kind of the way I look at it.
I remember bits and pieces of my second grade because I loved my second grade teacher. So, Miss Sue.
Nice. Do you talk to any of your old teachers?
Yes. So my parents actually teach in the county that I went to school at. So, and it's a very small county. So my parents are actually like friends and work with some of the teachers that I had growing up as a kid. So like, yes, I still talk to some of my elementary school, middle school, and high school teachers. So, yeah. Okay,
so I said most people do not. Miss Kulicki, I had her for third grade and fourth grade, and then my sister had her, my cousins had him, my nieces, everyone in our families had her. And so she's become like a family friend that everyone loves her.
Yeah.
You know, matter of fact, from a small town, she's one of the most beloved teachers in our town. So still stay in contact with her and things. But when I am outside of my hometown, you don't see too many people that actually have stayed in contact with a lot of their teachers. So I was just kind of curious about this. This is a good story. I like this because of the fact that sometimes people forget that athletes are people.
Yeah.
And athletes have other dreams outside of catching a ball, dribbling a ball, shooting a ball. And this is one of those situations where, yes, basketball is just one little small part of his life. Basketball is going to be one of the shortest parts of his life. But then having a plan of what he's going to do after basketball and wanting to be a teacher and give back. I think that's so important. Teachers don't get enough credit.
No, they do not.
Being a teacher gives you no street cred at all. Zero. You know what I mean?
It's a thankless job for sure.
Right. Him being able to be a teacher gives him that ability to, bring attention to teachers and kind of what they do, and things. Not enough of these stories come out of an NBA player coming back to teach at a school for a day or for whatever time, or Jalen Rose starting a school for elementary and middle school kids, or LeBron James starting his school in Akron. There are tons of these stories out there, littered, where players have created programs for kids to get their education and give back to the community. And these stories are not covered. And so having something like this and talking about something like this, I think is just amazing.
Yeah.
And then kind of hearing what the kids are saying and all of that, I thought that was kind of cool. Now, with you coming from a family of teachers, how do like stories like this, are they even aware of like some of these things that go on?
My parents?
Yes, or just in general, the teachers in general. You grew up in a world where teachers are, you're around a lot of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if they're aware of stuff like this goes on. I don't know. I mean, regardless, my parents love their job. They love those kids. My mom is a kindergarten teacher, and she loves every minute of her job. Loves it so much.
Isn't your brother a teacher as well?
My brother teaches high school, I believe. Yes, my brother is also a teacher. And my dad was a middle school math teacher, but he's a middle school counselor now. So
I'm going to ask this question. Maybe you should be asking this on air. Why didn't Faith go into education?
Because Faith was surrounded by teachers her entire life. And Faith saw all the negative things that come along with being a teacher, and the positives did not weigh out the negatives for me. So I did not become a teacher.
See, I think you'd be a cute, awesome teacher.
I have thought about maybe later in my life going back to school and getting a degree and becoming a high school English teacher, because I love English, I love Shakespeare, I love everything like that. So I have thought about it, because journalism is also a very hard, thankless job.
Ooh, yes, it is.
But teachers at least get paid summers off and some benefits. So yes. I have considered it, but right now, it's a no for me.
See, I'd be like, either if it was me and someone asked me, okay, Tate, would you be a teacher? Either I would go elementary school or I'd go college. I would not touch middle school, and I would not touch high school at all. I
thought about being a college professor, but I did not want to go to school for like 10 years to get a doctorate. So.
Yeah, I'm going for either. I got to be a college professor. I mean, you know what I mean? There's a difference with when the kids get that middle school, high school age where they're kind of finding themselves, and sometimes they think they have all the answers. That's a tough group to teach.
Well, high school was hard for everybody, and I did have a couple of teachers that helped me along the way in high school that if I didn't have those teachers, I don't know if I would have made it in high school.
No, those teachers, I agree. Those teachers that are at the high school level, they have such a massive impact on your life, I feel like. But I feel like high school was the ultimate thankless job.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the parents. Sometimes people don't realize what what
That
the
was-
teacher goes through. What was that?
That was one of the negatives on my list, was dealing with parents.
Yeah, it could be tough because
Yeah.
people look at their kid is becoming an adult, but their kid is still a kid.
Yeah.
And so the parents still look at their daughter or their son as their kid, where kids are thinking of themselves as an adult. And sometimes parents can't believe my kid would never do this. Somebody else had to have done this, or something, he was provoked or things. It'd be too tough. So changing it back to the original story of the thing, back to Bridges doing this, is it brings another layer to recognizing that an athlete's coming in. What impacts me is the fact that these kids will remember this forever. I remember when we had an NBA player come and teach second grade for a day. You know, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And
it
so
is.
he's going to have an impact on those kids' lives forever. You're going to be talking, kids are going to be talking about that for years to come. So I do like that story.
Yeah, and I feel like you don't really hear much about like what NBA players say they're gonna do after they're out of the NBA. Like, I think, you know, they don't really do anything after that. Maybe like start a business or some clothing, you know, like Michael Jordan does with the shoes, clothing brand, whatever like that. But they don't really have to do anything, and I think a lot of them choose not to. And so it's sweet to like see that he's like, yeah, after I'm done with basketball, like I think I want to become a teacher or a principal, even in education. I think that's so cute, so sweet.
Yeah, that's you know what? That's the thing. Not enough people talk about these guys, the schools that they start. There's a lot more to do things than you realize. But there's the schools that are created by some of these guys. How they give back to the different communities, it's just not talked about. So I love that this was talked about.
Yeah.
So this is an A+ keeping the faith moment. Give me faith in the
Thank you.
in
Thank
the
you.
NBA and their players a little bit.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Well, with that, we are going to close out our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning into the Andrew Tate Show, presented by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to subscribe to the show and leave a positive review. It really does make a difference. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram for more content updates. Thank you once again. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go